I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. I have been sleeping on it and living with it day to day, and I think that is the only way to really judge a bed frame like this. This is made for someone who wants a king bed setup that keeps the area around the bed more organized, and who also likes having power and lighting built into the headboard, so you are not constantly reaching behind nightstands or dealing with messy cords. What makes it different, at least in my room, is that it is not just a frame that holds a mattress. It is more like a bed base plus a headboard that actually does something. There is storage built into the headboard, there are shelves, there is a hidden compartment, there are charging ports, and there are lights that you can control. I usually ignore features like that because a lot of the time they feel tacked on, but here they are integrated in a way that I ended up using. I will start with how it arrived and how it felt to put together. The box was organized in a way where I did not have to dump everything on the floor and guess what was what. The parts were separated, the hardware was easy to find, and the instructions were clear enough that I did not feel like I had to interpret them. Assembly still takes some space because a king frame is big, but the process itself was straightforward. I did it with help, and it took around half an hour once we had everything laid out. If you are doing it alone, I think it is still doable, but the larger pieces are easier if someone holds them in place while you tighten things down. Once it is assembled, the first thing I noticed was the general stiffness of the structure. The frame feels solid when you push on it from the side, and it does not feel like it is twisting. The slats feel sturdy, and I like that the mattress has consistent support across the middle, instead of that saggy feeling you get when slats are thin or spaced too far apart. In real use, getting in and out of bed feels stable. I do not get that little shift or squeak that I have had with cheaper frames. I will say, like any bed, if you do not tighten everything fully during assembly, you can create noises later. After a few nights, I went back and rechecked the hardware, and that helped keep everything quiet. The fabric wrap on the outside looks clean in person, and it feels like the kind of material that is easy enough to wipe down if you brush it with your hand or get a little dust on it. It is not the kind of fabric that looks delicate, which matters for me because the bed is something you bump into, vacuum around, and live with. The corners and edges look neat once the fabric is on, and it gives the frame a finished look instead of looking like a metal platform. Now the storage and the little daily convenience features are what I ended up noticing most. On each side, there are pockets built into the bed. I did not think I would care about those. I use them constantly. My phone goes there when I do not want it on the mattress. A remote goes there. Sometimes I toss a charging cable in there so it is not hanging off the side. It is a small thing, but it changes the way the area around the bed feels. It stays tidier without me trying. There are also small shelves on each side, and I use them when I do not want to reach up to the headboard. If you are the type of person who has a drink near the bed, I would still be careful, because any open shelf near bedding is a spill risk. But for small items like glasses, a book, or a phone, it works. It also helps if you do not have large nightstands, or if your nightstands are already crowded. The headboard is the main reason I think someone would consider this. It has two shelves, one at the top and one below it, and they are actually usable. I keep a small stack of books on the lower shelf and my phone on the top shelf sometimes. The shelves are not deep like a full nightstand, but they are deep enough for the stuff that usually ends up sliding between the mattress and the wall. In the middle of the headboard, there are two standard wall outlets and two universal serial bus ports. I like having both options because some things still charge better with a traditional plug. In my case, I charge my phone and sometimes a tablet there, and I also plugged in a small lamp for a while just to see how it felt to have everything routed through the headboard. It worked fine, and it kept cords from draping across the bed. The outlets are positioned in a way that is easy to reach, but not so exposed that they look messy. There is also a hidden compartment under the top shelf. This is one of those features that sounds silly until you have it. I ended up putting small items in there that I do not want sitting out, like backup charging cables, and a couple of things I only use occasionally at night. If you like a clean-looking bedroom, this helps. It is not a safe or anything like that, but it is a decent place to stash small clutter. The lighting is built in and controlled by a remote, and you can also use an app. In daily use, I mostly use the remote because it is faster. The app is useful if you want more control over colors and modes, but if you are just trying to turn the lights on and off at night, the remote is simpler. The lights plug in at the back of the bed, and once it is powered, you have control. In my room, the lights are more of a mood thing than a practical light source. They give a soft glow that looks good behind the bed and around the frame, and it is nice when I do not want a bright lamp on. I tried the music sync mode out of curiosity. It works, but it is not something I use every day. What I actually use is a steady color at a low brightness when I am winding down. The timer is also helpful if you like to fall asleep with some light on, but do not want it running all night. One practical note with the lighting is cable management. I took a few minutes to route the cords so they are not hanging where you can see them from the side. Once you do that, it looks clean. If you do not, you might see a cable or two depending on how your bed is positioned. Also, if your bed is not close to an outlet, you may need to plan for that, because the headboard power and lights need a convenient place to plug in. With a mattress on top, the bed height felt normal to me. I used a mattress around 12 to 14 inches thick, and the headboard sat just a little higher than the mattress, which looked right and felt comfortable when sitting up in bed. I spend time leaning back against the headboard while reading, and it felt supportive. It is not like leaning against a couch cushion, but it is comfortable enough for normal use. Over multiple nights, the main performance question is always the same for me. Does it stay quiet and stable? In my case, yes, after making sure everything was tightened properly. I also like that the mattress stays in place and does not wander. If you are someone who tosses and turns, the frame does not feel like it is shifting under you. It feels planted. For limitations, a bed like this has more going on than a basic metal platform, so it takes longer to assemble than something super simple. You also have more components that need power, so if you hate dealing with cords, you will want to take the extra time to make it look neat. The shelves are useful, but they are not a replacement for full-size nightstands if you need a lot of surface area. And while the pockets are great, they can also become a place where you hide clutter if you are not careful. Overall, living with it has been straightforward. The storage features actually get used. The charging ports fit into my normal routine. The lights are something I enjoy at night, even if I keep them subtle most of the time. The frame feels stable, and it supports the mattress well without weird noises. You can view detailed information about the ANCTOR King bed frame with storage headboard in the comments section. Thank you for watching.